everyone! Today we are going to be doing another laundry chat. If you guys don't know what this is, basically on my channel what I do is I hate laundry. Just gonna be up front and center. I can't stand doing laundry, and yeah, I was thinking for the people who are like me, who can't stand doing laundry but also like story time videos, that you guys can hang out with me while I tell you a story, or just chat, just shoot it, you know, it doesn't matter. You don't really have to pay attention to these videos. Yeah, so if you would like to grab your laundry and just listen to a story today, then go ahead and keep on watching. So you guys might be wondering why I am wearing the same thing as in my cleaning video, my recent cleaning video, and that is because they're the same day. I just spent basically all day cleaning, and I still had laundry to do, and I started to fold it on camera for my cleaning video, and I was like, you know what, there is just way too much laundry for me to not have like a story time or a laundry chat. So I was like, well, oh well, it won't hurt any. Ooh, I have a good one. So so today we're going to talk about a billing and coding job that I have had, and what happened at that job. So if you guys have read the title, you basically already know. So we'll start off with the beginning part of the story. I went to school for billing and coding. If you guys don't know what that is basically when you go to a doctor's appointment or a doctor's office, there is a biller and a coder who send off your paperwork to an insurance company. There's everything, every medical thing has a code with it. So, you know, it could be like a broken nose, and there's a code for that. It can say, you know, broken nose that has a splint, that has a code. The things that they've used while they're fixing you up, the stitches or whatever it may be, gauze, there's a code for everything. And I went to school for it. It's a very short class. It's an ROP program. It's only like 6 months long, or not even, or whatever it is. So I took the class, and afterwards you have to extern. And if you guys don't know what externing is kind of like interning, but you don't get paid for it. I know that there are some paid interns, but extern is, you know, kind of just to get your feet wet and kind of practice what you just learned in the medical field or whatever that may be. I took the class, and I had got placed at a place where I live, about a city away from where I live, and I got placed there, and I was only there for about 2 weeks doing my externing, and then after that I was done. And that's honestly as far as I thought it was gonna go. I took billing and coding because I wanted to be well-rounded. So yeah, I wanted to be well-rounded in the medical field. So that's why I took it. And after that, it was kind of just, like I said, done. I was also taking medical assisting at the moment, so I had other things occupying my time. About a month before my medical assisting was over, I had gotten a phone call from the manager of the place that I did the billing and the coding, my externing place. And they wanted me to come in for an interview, and I was like, okay. I mean, I wasn't really planning on working in billing and coding, but I was like, hey, you know, they liked me, so I'll go back. So I ended up going back, and basically he was offering me the job. Like there was no interview. He wanted me to be a part of this. The way he was talking, he was like, oh, we can get you in right now. We still know that you're in school. We understand. We love that. Blah, blah, blah. We can get you in. No worries, no hassle, blah, blah, blah. You can finish it up and then, you know, work with us full time. So for the first half, you'll be part-time, because I went to school every single day for medical assisting, and for billing and coding, I didn't. But he was completely okay with it. So I was like, cool, no problem. that's fine. I was getting paid more. I was working at a restaurant at the moment, and I think minimum wage at that time was like $7, and he was offering me like $9.50, and I was like, oh, $2.50 extra? Yeah, okay, I'm taking this. So I ended up taking the job, and everything was fine. I was still going to school. I was taking my classes. I would leave at lunch and then, you know, go take my classes, and then either after I would come back or I would just go home, and they were completely fine about it. Then I went full time. I finished my class up, which I also did externing there, and you know, kind of sucked because I had first pick in my class to where I wanted to do externing, but so I went full time, and things started to get weird. There was a lot of cattiness at this place, and it all revolved around the same girl. The same girl is the one who basically was my mentor when I was in my externing with them. So, you know, for the 2 weeks I was following this girl around, and I was doing everything she was saying. And I didn't have a problem with her. She was a little, you know, rough around the edges, but I usually try to make friends with everyone. So I was like, oh, well, she's cool to me. She's nice to me. I don't have a problem with this girl. And all the other girls in the office were like, oh, we don't like her. We don't get along with her. She's this, she's that. And I would hear little things underneath their breath. But I would never say anything. They would be like, oh, of course, they're in the, you know, they're in their office together. Of course they're in the office. Of course they're in the office. And when I say they, I mean this girl who's an employee just like me, and the manager of the store. So we were like, okay, kind of doesn't, like, I mean, I was more like, okay, whatever, you know, I just started here. I don't really want to be a part of this whole thing. Like, I'm not. I wasn't like new, but I had started not that far back. I was only there for about 2 months at that point, but I was there most of the time half day. So it wasn't really like I had a lot of time to spend with these people or get to know them or anything like that. We were all in the same room of this place. And then they ended up moving us two, which was me and the girl who I followed, the one that everyone talked crap about, to a different part of the building. And me and her were completely fine. You know, we were doing our own business, and me and her were working, and we would talk every once in a while, and you know, we were just kind of, we weren't like big into anything. It wasn't like we were best friends, but we were cordial. We were fine. So we would talk, and then, you know, we'd go on and get back on the phones, and we'd do our thing, and by the end of the day, we would tell each other bye, and that was it. Now, she always stayed behind every time, which I thought was weird in a way, only because she had a little girl, and she only stayed late on the days that when he was there. Only when he was there. And he would come up every so often, so the days that he wasn't there, she would zoom home right after work. But on the days that he was there, she would stay after. And I never knew when she went home because I was gone. The moment it hit 5 o'clock, I was completely gone. Once again, nothing really weird was happening. Like, I didn't really think about it. I didn't really bat an eye to it. It wasn't strange to me what was going on. And I heard all the girls talking, and I thought, oh, well, they all just don't get along. It's fine. They're catty, whatever. I started to notice a couple of things. My boss, so what you have to do is, like, you have to get on the phone, and you have to call insurance companies, and you have to tell them, like, oh, we sent you over this patient, we haven't got payment, blah, 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 because with insurance, it's this whole thing. But basically, I would call these people, so, you know, main insurance companies, and it would take a very long time with me on the phone. So it was easier if we had, like, their email, or we had, like, a login with their website. And I remember I went up to my boss, and I was like, hey, you know, is there any way that I can get a login for all of these, because I'm on the phone for hours and I'm barely getting, you know, 5 done an hour, and I want to be able to get a bunch done. So, you know, what can I do? And he was like, oh yeah, I'll get you all your logins, like, don't worry about it. And I was like, okay, great, thanks. And she was listening. And I walked out of his office and she was like, yeah, good luck. And I was like, why? And she was like, well, I've been asking for it for this long, and he's never even given it to me. He hasn't even been trying. It's been months, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, you know, if he doesn't, he doesn't. Oh, well, I'll keep doing what I'm doing. And that was in the beginning of the day. When I had gotten back in from lunch, he walked out to me and he was like, hey, you know, here you go. I got all your logins. Go crazy. And I was like, okay, great, thank you. She turned around and she was like, he did what? And I was like, I don't know. He handed them to me. And she was like, I don't think that's fair. I've been asking for this long and this long and this long, and he hasn't given me anything. And I was like, you know, I don't know. I don't know. That's just what he did. I can't answer you that. So she just got pissed at me the whole day. And it's just me and her in there. So, like, trying to talk was super awkward. She didn't want to talk to me. She was just pissed at me. So I was like, okay, never mind. I'm not even going to get into an argument. So then I started noticing things start to trickle down. There was a bunch of other ladies who worked in the first part of the office when I, you know, the other, like, where the other ladies were. And I have a dog hair. Her best friend was one of them. And all of a sudden, it was like overnight, her best friend was fired or had quit. I don't know. There's two sides to that thing. Like, one person says she was fired. The other one says that she quit. But something happened to her best friend. And she wasn't even sad about it. Like, she was like, well, she shouldn't have done what she's done. And I was like, well, what did she do? Nothing. She, like, refused to tell me. And I was like, okay, well, you know, I liked your best friend. She was cool, but okay. Then more things started to happen. I would go in, you know, and I would go into work, and everything would be fine all day, and then he would come in, and it would get like this tension in this room. And she would just get very quiet. She would show up flirting, like, because we used to wear, we were wearing scrubs, right? Because we were just billers and coders. It wasn't anything crazy. So she would wear scrubs and then dress all, like, you know, do her makeup and her hair. I went like this. This is me. This is how I am. I'm not going to get all dressed up to go and sit behind a computer. She threw this fit because she was like, oh, well, I want to wear, you know, nice clothing. I want to wear this and I want to wear that. All of us wore scrubs. It's not uncommon for people behind the desk of medical offices and stuff to wear scrubs. That's just what happens. Sometimes we see patients. And so she threw a fit about it. And the manager was like, yeah, sure. Go ahead, knock yourself out. Wear what you want. So she started coming in with leggings and heels, and her hair would be done, and her lips and her eyes, and she would just sit there, and everything would be up and out in his face. And, you know, at first I was like, okay, she has a crush on him. But then, like I said, things started happening where I would come back in from lunch, and they'd be in the room together. And that's not uncommon, but it was weird when it would honestly be like I came back in from lunch and it would be 1 o'clock and their room was 100% quiet. All the blinds were closed, the doors were locked, and they wouldn't come out until like 3 or whatever, you know, and I would be like, oh, hey, and they'd be like, oh, sorry, we were having a meeting. But then, like, that's it. And this happened, like, often. And I was like, okay. I mean, my back was like to them. When I was on the computer, like my back was completely to them. So it's not like they had to close the blinds, that they were having a meeting. But like I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anything. The door was locked. Like it was all kinds of, it was weird. I don't know when this switch was, but I was, you know, I had been there for probably about like a year at this point. And all of a sudden, this guy gets hired. And he like just finished doing billing and coding. And he walks in one day and he was like, you know, you're in my spot. And I'm like, my spot? This is my desk. All this stuff is my desk. You know, I have my Post-its, my everything, just, this is mine. I don't understand what you're talking about. He was like, well, you're out and I'm in. And I'm even like, who are you? I've been here for a year. What are you talking about? So then the boss comes in and he was like, oh, Vanessa, we're switching you to the other side. And I was like, the other side where all the other ladies are. I was like, you're switching me. And he's like, yeah, we're going to move you over to that side. And then, you know, this person and this person are going to be in here and you're going to go over there. And I was like, okay, I don't get it, but okay. And she had the biggest smug face on her when this was happening. And I was just like, okay, I don't get it, but why? But all right, fine. And keep in mind, this place has a very bad reputation for how they treat their employees. Like, when I get to that part, you'll see that I'm not the only one who's dealt with stuff with them. And so it takes me all day to lunge over all my stuff. I mean, you're talking about a year worth of paperwork and everything, things that I'm working on, things that I've been trying to work on, new things, everything. Getting moved over to a new side of the building. And I was like, okay, well, whatever, fine. So I move all my stuff over and I don't get any work done. I get absolutely no work done. So the next day, I spend all day kind of redoing everything that I needed to do the day prior, but I was busy moving my stuff, so I couldn't get anything done. I always finish before the story is over. So I go over there and, oh, I'm sorry. So what I do is I go to do all of my work, and my boss used to get mad, like the actual doctor used to get mad if there was not things being sent out daily. So I had a stack of papers and usually envelopes, and the envelopes get, you know, pushed out. But because of the day before, because I was moving everything, it took so long that I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing. And I know that this sounds weird because you're like, well, you're just moving a desk, but I had to get my logins in on that computer, and it was this huge thing because I had switched computers and everything. Like, I had switched everything. I had to realize my extension. I had to switch. There was all kinds of stuff going on. So it took the whole day. So then the next day, I did all my paperwork, but I didn't send anything out. I was going to send it out the next day because I had to basically redo everything. It was like I had missed work. So I had to go through and redo everything and do new things. So I had like 2 days worth of things. So the next day I went in and I had all my paperwork done and I was going to start out fresh. So I had a stack of papers and I get in and I start on my keyboard and I'm looking at the computer and the boss walks in. Not the doctor. The manager walks in. The one who is claiming that, you know, all this stuff is going on with this girl. And he picks up my paperwork. That's right there. I mean, like, I'm sitting at the desk and he walks in and I'm like, oh, hey, and I'm talking to the girls behind me and I'm right there. And he looks at it and he's like, this is wrong. And I was like, okay. And he was like, do it again. And I was like, okay, no problem. So I went to go reach for it. And as I did that, he like looked at me and he chucked. But he like chucked papers because I thought he had picked up one. He had picked up like multiples and he just chucked them across like me, the floor, everything, and he walks out. And I just remember like looking down like and I looked back at the girls and they were just like, oh crap. And I was oh no. Oh no, I'm sorry, no. Are you serious? No, dude, no. So after that, I was like, I'm done. I'm leaving for lunch, and I didn't go back the next day. So I made up some excuse. I was like, oh, I'm not feeling good, blah, blah, blah. So then the next day, I talked to her, the girl who claimed, you know, that they were doing stuff. I had talked to her, and she was like, oh, he's not here. He won't be in until, you know, this day. He's leaving for 2 weeks on vacation. And I was like, cool, thanks. So I had typed up my paper, and it was my 2-week notice. So what I had done this on purpose, and I know that this isn't like the best thing to do, so don't take my advice. But I waited for the day that he was leaving. I walked into his office. I left my 2 weeks on his desk, wrote on it, signed it, dated it, everything. And then I left. And then I emailed him the exact same thing. That way I did not have to deal with him because he pissed me off. So I put the paper on his thing, and I was like, all right, I'm done. You know, I had put in there that this is my 2-week notice. My last day will be this day. And due to the circumstances of the other day, I will be leaving at this time, which was lunch. I was only going to stay half day. I will be leaving at this time. And this is what we're doing. So I went in the next day. Everything was fine. And then the next day, I'm getting an attitude from this girl because I still have to walk like to her neck of the woods to hand her things because technically me and her are still working together. And at first she was fine. Like, she was happy. I was out of the room, everything. And then she one day just gave me an attitude. And keep in mind, this is like the second day that the note was there. So she gives me an attitude. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I walk out and I leave at lunch. And she goes and looks for me. I'm guessing called him, told him what happened. So he got on the email, saw the email, and he was like, no, I'm sorry, this is not work. You need to stay the entire time. We need to talk when I get back in 2 weeks about what's happening. We need to understand, discuss things, all this stuff. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, no. So the next day I went in and she gave me an attitude again, and she was like, did you get his message? And I was like, I don't care about his message. I'm not staying. And she was like, okay, well, we'll see about that. And I was like, yeah, we will. Left at lunch, never came back. Like I said, people there thought that they were doing stuff, and honestly, it seems like it. I may be reading into this, but it was just so weird the way that she would act towards me because it was like he did stuff for me. He's the manager, you know? If you guys all work in a place and you ask your manager to, oh, we're out of this, we're out of that, I need this, I need that, most of the time the manager gets it. I didn't understand what was going on. But that's the way this girl acted. She acted like, you know, mine, he's mine, he's mine. See, he's mine. But I didn't know if she had a crush on him or if they were actually doing stuff. And I didn't think that they were doing stuff until I would see the doors locked all the time with the blinds closed. I mean, these people had a meeting almost every single day. And things just didn't add up there. So basically, after that, they had canceled my direct deposit for my last check, and I could not receive my last check. It was about 2 months, and I kept texting them and calling them and emailing them, and they wouldn't answer me back, and the emails would go unanswered. And finally I got mad, and I was like, look, if you do not give me my last paycheck, the full amount, I'm going to take you to court. And they wrote me and they were like, oh, we're so sorry. Yeah, your direct deposit was like the number got canceled or something. And I was like, no, it didn't. No, it didn't, because I had the exact same bank at the moment and everything. There was nothing that was switched. Nothing. So they just canceled it before or after I quit. So then basically just know this has happened with multiple people. I've heard of people getting fired from there and then they will hold the check. I know a case where a girl got fired, or no, she quit. And she was telling them, I need my last check, I need my last check. So she went in, they gave her the check, she went to the bank, they canceled it when she deposited it, which means that it bounced in her checking account. Then her dad and her husband came down threatening to basically fight the doctor and the manager and stuff. There's been so many cases of things that have gone on there that it's ridiculous. But so yeah, they canceled it. So they were like, oh, if you're gonna want your check, you're gonna have to come in. And I was like, fine, I don't work for you. So I went down there and I walked into the front doors, and you know, I know all these people. I know the girls who were in the front, and I hadn't seen them in months. I hadn't seen them in like 2 months. And I walked in and they were like, oh my God, Vanessa, like, you're here? And I was like, yeah, I'm picking up my last check. And they were like, dude, when you left, it was mayhem. Like, they were so mad. He threw a fit. It was this huge thing. And I was like, well, good. Maybe he'll learn to not throw stuff in my face. And of course, you know, I'm not going to spread other people's business like that. I'm not going to be like, and he needs to stop screwing everyone in here. But, you know, I'm thinking it. So I get in there and I'm talking to them, and they're trying to get a hold of the manager and the girl who I worked with, that they were supposedly doing stuff. And they're trying to get a hold of them. They will not answer the call to tell them that I'm there. And I was like, okay, whatever. Not my problem. So I'll just wait here. And I thought they were going to like come and run it over. No. So they called back about 45 to an hour later. Yeah. They were doing this on purpose. And they were like, oh, have her come over here. So I was like, lovely. And they were like, yeah, good luck. You're going to need it. So I walk in there, and I already know the type of looks and everything that I'm going to get. So I walk in. He's in the office, door closed, everything. He doesn't want to talk. She's right there, like right in the middle of the room, just staring at me as I walk in. And she's just looking at me. And I'm walking in, I'm like, hi, I'm here for my last check. And she was like, oh yeah. And she picks it up and she hands it to me, and she was like, there you go. And I was like, thanks, bye. And I walked out the door. Here's the thing. I know that it was on purpose because, one, I didn't show up when it was lunchtime, but I don't know, maybe they were having their meeting again. Two, you kept me waiting for an hour, but yet all of a sudden he's in the room with the door closed, which I saw his car out there when I walked in. Alright? And her, I had gone in at like 9 in the morning. We only got an hour lunch. There was no like breaks or anything like that. And you don't stay on the phone for an hour. So I know what she was doing. But just the smug look on this girl's face. And I wonder all the time if she still works there and everything that happened. I wish that I could be a fly on that wall in that place. But that place was... So yeah. That was my lovely story time. I hated that job so much. I think the next one I might talk about my job as a bartender and my job working in the food industry, because those are stories on their own. But yeah. So once again, I will be putting away all this laundry that you don't see in front of me, plus behind me. And yeah. I will be seeing you guys in my next video, and stay tuned for all these other laundry chats. I have a bunch more stories that I'm going to be getting into, so I kind of like being able to vent to you guys. So yeah, if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for a bunch more videos and from my wacky lovely self. And I will be seeing you guys very, very soon. Bye guys.